Wow. It's taken quite a few seconds to, like, figure it
out. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
We weren't defeated by the weather, it looks like. Not yet. Well, in victory, have a taste of this. Oh, shit. There we go. Well, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Let me jump in here. I'm just gonna play only the track that has the voice clips. They are digital voice clips. They're not actually recordings. Because that really gets the flavor across.
The essence. It's like our very own knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks. There we go. So, yeah.
Well, now that we're a full 2 minutes and 30 seconds in, welcome to this week's podcast, which this week will be brought to you by Burnout Recovery and Cars Are the Devil.
This week's podcast is also brought to you by Festivities and Tasting the Wax.
I'm tasting the wax. And your host, Madison.
I'm your other host, Jesse James. Welcome to our Conversational Leftist Mukbang. We both had interesting days today.
Yeah.
I'll start off. The place where I live just sort of doesn't respond well to the weather we're having currently, which is not even, it's windy and it's kind of wet, but it's not like too bad on either, at least not right here. Though you will probably notice our feed is a little bit choppier.
Yeah.
But none of the toilets in the basement would drain, and we just kind of had like a sump pump that was on, but like filling up, and it was real weird. Also, when I went outside, all of the rain is just full of mud, so everybody's car is just covered in dirt now. So that's a fun aspect of rain that we don't really get in Seattle.
Yeah, Boise rainstorms are a fun thing because they also have like a dust storm inside of them.
That's what I like.
So it just kind of rains mud on everybody's car. So, yeah, when I got into my car to come out back to Boise, everything was covered in like little streaks of mud. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Exactly what I wanted.
It's nice. It makes all the drains look like they just have like shit on them also.
Yeah.
Which is important.
But other than today, which has been pretty kind of shitty overall, It's been mostly pretty nice for the last like week or so. It's been a nice spring type weather. There's some trees that are flowering.
There's more cherry trees around here than I expected, and there's also like it's that space where the air is not hot, but it's like warm enough to where you don't really need a second layer if you're going to do something. Yeah, it's been really pleasant. Until
that is one of the few things I do like about like Idaho thunderstorms or rain is that it's usually really warm when they happen. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's a fun, cool atmosphere to be in when you're getting rained on.
Yeah, it's like the trailer for Forces of Nature. Anyway, how is your food setup over there?
My food setup is pretty cool today. I have a tea. It's just a black tea with some honey in it and also some resin. And then I also received 2 gifts from you. This I am particularly excited about.
Yeah.
This is
Me too.
A cheddar crisp that is fire sauce flavored. Thrilled about that. I'm excited to try it. And I also found these in my what's it called? Glove compartment when I was looking up things in my driver's manual, my car manual. These are actually surprisingly very good. I've had issues with like gummy things a lot, and I don't like them all the time because they're like too sticky on your teeth. But these I think are pretty good. And then as for other beverages, I have a Nitro Pepsi, also from you, that I am very pleased and excited to try because I've been seeing a lot about it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be having these things also, but I'm gonna be pouring mine into here. As per the suggestion, did you look at the suggestions?
No.
Chill
can, pour hard, admire and enjoy.
Pour hard. Yeah, it's got like a little turn it upside down and just go nuts picture.
That is always my favorite part of a beverage is just sitting back and admiring it.
Yeah.
Which I guess I do from time to time.
Yeah, I don't want to actually interface with it.
I'm curious to see how this.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Oh no! I got nitro just now. Okay,
well, that's unfortunate. Let me test my luck.
Okay, it's just on my hand.
Yeah, that release is no joke.
I'm pouring it hard.
Yeah, me too. I'm doing what it said. I've upended the can.
Yeah, I did that too. Does it have like one of those? It does. It has like one of those balls in it.
It has the Guinness activator.
Yeah, it does.
Nice.
Okay. I'm really glad I didn't get that on my shirt. That would have been unfortunate. But
yeah.
Only on the pants. That's fine. That's doable.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I roll for everything, if I'm being honest. Just don't get it on the shirt. We're fine.
I'm going to grab a rag real quick. Or a towel, I guess, in my case. Don't worry, guys. This is the Pepsi towel.
I mean,
specific for Pepsi.
It can be It can be a good grandma sitting at the desk kind of look. Just grab a blanket and go nuts.
All right. Well, it appears to be a Pepsi.
Yeah, it looks to be a Pepsi in here.
All right. Cheers to Pepsi. Oh my God. That is a flat soda.
Yeah. Yeah, it mostly just tastes like flat soda to me too.
That's a flat soda.
No. It's combined with stuff.
They were really like, damn, we got all this flat Pepsi sitting around. What the fuck do we do with it? Oh, nitro. It's not flat, it's nitro.
Uh-huh. So,
well,
so now that Pepsi's decided to do that to us,
fantastic.
So I don't know what the fuck draft cola is supposed to mean, but there is also a version of that has cream in it or something. So I'm gonna also try one of those.
That sounds fine.
And then this, I think, this is the real.
This is what we're really here for.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely smell the fire sauce.
Yep.
Smells pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm going in. Get a thin one.
Let's get that texture in view. I mean, it is as advertised.
I think they could have gone a little harder on the fire flavor, but
yeah, I kind of expected it to be like pretty low key on the spice.
The spice level on the back is indicated as 3 chili peppers out of 5.
I would give this a 1 chili pepper out of 5, maybe.
Yeah.
Like I can feel a hint of the idea of spice, but not. Mm-hmm. It's not spicy.
You just gotta look for the real, like, flavor blasted ones. Oh, this one's pretty flavor blasted.
You get that deep caramel brown Cheeto color.
Mm-hmm.
So, related to fast food, I was looking through a bunch of stuff to try and find it because apparently Subway made a deal with some company to make makeup.
To make makeup?
Yeah, and I really want to know what Subway's makeup is. And I also really want to know if there's going to be a tuna for their makeup. Because
like, definitely tuna bronzer.
Yeah, well, like their options for like if they want to hit a white person skin tone is going to be like
mayo.
Yeah, mayo, tuna, or like yoga mat bread. Like they don't have.
Or like weird pale tomato.
Yeah, unfortunate tomatoes.
Yeah. Other than that, the range would be like teriyaki sauce. For those of us who are familiar with the onion teriyaki Subway sandwich.
Italian dressing.
Mm.
Anyway, I want to know what a Subway eyeshadow looks like. Are they cowards and use the logo colors, or are they gonna go for actual food?
I hope they go for actual food.
Yeah.
I hope the palette has like a sandwich theme.
Yeah, like it's like a untoasted and toasted bread on the sides, and then a bunch of like lettuce, greens, and all that kind of stuff throughout. Yeah, that's what I want to see.
Like a mustard yellow,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, a purple from like a red onion.
Mm-hmm.
That would be pretty good. And then like a brown from an Auntie Anne's cookie, or a Mrs. Fields cookie. Sorry, getting my commercial marketing logo.
Your Subway lore is slipping.
It is. It's been a while.
What's the I know McDonald's probably has like at least their logos in a color palette, but
Sure.
I feel like there's so many opportunities with some of the like food items. You could have each food item have its own palette very easily.
Mhm. The tuna sandwich, tuna melt palette would be a sight to behold.
Bluish gray, like hard yellow, like a whiter tone mayonnaise, some like greenish gray pickle, and then just fully untoasted, like warm white for the bread. That's what I want. Just a gross, like veiny palette of white colors.
Oh God.
You got the wax hiccups?
I guess I've had hiccups like all day long. I don't know what I mean. I have eternal hiccups.
Yeah, that is a true thing. I've seen it. I've heard it.
It's real.
Well, chug this flat soda. Maybe that'll help.
It needs some whiskey or like Fireball.
It absolutely does. It would be a great mixer, but
yeah, it would. The best I have right now is a vodka that I stuck in the freezer to get cold, but it actually froze in part. So now it's like a weird slushy, but it's at the bottom. It's just there's only that much left, but it's like a watermelon vodka slushy, and it's really not good.
Well, that sounds fantastic, though, if you pour enough draft Pepsi into it.
I guess. Actually, I could go get it. There's not very much in it. I might as well.
Why don't you just go get it?
Why don't I just... It's the sound of victory.
Somewhere in here, I have an air horn. Let me maybe grab that real quick. Oop. Never mind. I'm just gonna let this do its thing. I'll find it later. Next time somebody has to run away for an emergency.
The fuck you say?
I might set up an air horn for later.
That seems appropriate. Oh, so this was a watermelon and mint. Zero sugar infusions from Smirnoff.
That's a weird list of things for that. Why does it need to be zero sugar and watermelon and mint all combined.
I don't know. I could not tell you why I purchased this other than I was going through it, so. Oh, and you're back.
There's some business going on down here. Yeah, get in there.
Did you see the part of it is slushy?
Uh-huh.
That's like not supposed to happen, right?
That might be something having to do with the no sugar or something. I'm not really sure what's up with that.
Yeah, maybe. I've never seen like alcohol freeze like that. But
goddamn.
Here goes. Let's hope this is worse.
What do you think?
It's not. It's pretty much the same. Like there's a slight watermelon taste, but it's not too much.
Okay.
But I definitely taste it. I'm just gonna stir this a little bit. I really need to my desk.
I just got some update of my friend just landed in Seoul, so that should be fun.
Oh, nice. That does sound fun.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna finish this up. I don't drink soda very often at all, so I don't think I'm gonna try and break into the other one during this podcast. But we'll see how I feel after I drink some alcohol or something.
Oh, you have the other one? I didn't know that you already had it.
I'll say this is much easier to drink because it's like not
less carbonated.
Yeah, it's not fighting me, but that's not like a plus really.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like it was fighting me. I still feel like it's fighting me. It's very aggressive.
Like, I think the carbonation in soda kind of helps make it more aggressive and less like I want to drink it that fast.
Yeah.
And then like a lot of soda I don't think tastes good either. So like I have a pretty good personal defense mechanism against soda. But that one just kind of tasted like really overly sweet iced tea or something.
Yeah, kind of. Also, from the colors on the can, because they went with like sort of a weird orange instead of their normal red. I was anticipating like a orange flavor or like a peach or something.
Yeah.
But I guess it makes. I don't know what they're doing.
Smaller bubbles and smoother taste. The daily sugars in this one can is 125% your daily serving.
Perfect.
God damn. Okay. Well,
that pairs perfectly with these starters that I'm eating by the handful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, you're on the bodybuilder diet. You're eating a lot of candy and then like occasionally having some sort of actual protein meal.
Oh yeah, and let me tell you, there is a body being built. It's not the best, but
oh yeah,
it's getting built one way or another. Just maybe not in the right one.
Sorry, I can't come over today. I'm building that body. I guess this is the perfect time to mention my other item, which is, of course, some blackberries and leaves.
That looks really good, actually, just to offset everything else that is happening.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to. So I'm looking at DoorDash right now because, as I mentioned before, I am looking at dinner options, and I feel like I need to order a salad or something.
Is there anywhere decent you can get pho from? That's a pretty good option.
Ooh, that sounds good. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see. Is there not like a pho tab? I guess not.
No.
Just Asian blanket.
Not out here, especially.
There's a soup tab.
Damn, baby, don't hit my soup tab. Speaking of the Asian blanket, though, my roommate is currently making Japanese-style curry.
Ooh, nice. Like with the cubes or from scratch?
A little of both. Doing some fancy prep work and then also using the cubes along with it. So
that sounds ideal.
Yeah. It's a whole kitchen situation. There's a lot of business happening. And
sounds good.
As per usual, a real fuckhead of a cat just messing with everything.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Mm-hmm. Found out last night that cat makes perfect shadow puppets of a giant cat on the wall with a cell phone light. Like, very readable.
That's great information for you in the future.
It sure is.
Oh. Jack in the Box.
Yeah. You know, get those vegetables in. And those buttered meats.
It's hitting a lot of food groups. Probably not the right ones. I don't know.
Everybody, I know it's technically in the past, but I need everybody.
Hard.
Give Madison your food purchasing energy.
Just I need like good food
focus
vibes
in.
right now.
Vibes, especially for the hungry, can travel through time and space, and I just want everybody to really be there for this moment.
Yes, thank you, everyone. I don't know. Maybe I should. Fuck it, I'll figure this out later. Nothing's like perfect, so I'm just gonna have Zen instead.
Yeah, have some Zen and some cheddar discs, and that'll take care of it.
Perfect! I'm on the Zen diet. It does not work.
No, absolutely not. I'm about to bust into some more drinks over here. Partially, I want to try this. I don't have any like political reason for buying this, but it is the cheapest thing I could get. So I got a Black Rifle espresso with cream. I'm gonna try that. Live that Duck Dynasty life or whatever, and then I'm also gonna get some vitamins.
Yeah.
And then I went out to purchase this cold coffee alternative, and got the other creamed Pepsi. And they had these. So my favorite style of donut, this is definitely not going to be that, but it has a similar name, is the Cruller. And they made these Krispy Kreme brand packaged Crullers. The issue with these, though, other than the fact that they're almost certainly kind of gross, is that how did they explain this? So they were both stocking up on them. They were a new product at the Jacksons down the street. Mm-hmm. But they were also selling half of them for like half price in another bin by the front of the store as though they were like not buying them again. So I had a conversation with the guy working there, and he was like, it's just a weird stocking thing. We don't really do any of that stuff for a reason a lot of time. We just kind of put up whatever we want. And I had grabbed one. He was like, well, we got these other ones and these blueberry ones for half of this. And I was like, oh, I mean, sure, I'll get blueberry ones too, I guess. And he's like, I just made them both half price. Doesn't matter. So nice. glowing recommendations all around on these, I think.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And I don't know.
I want to see them.
Yeah, I do too. I can tell by
how sticky they are.
I can tell by the feel that they're both quite small and like kind of weird, but I need to know exactly in what way. All right, yeah. So I guess right off the bat, for anybody who knows a cruller, that's not how they work. This is a Krispy Kreme donut that they have given a edge to, and then seemingly maybe dried it a little bit and put it in a bag. But
yeah,
it smells okay, but it also kind of smells like that weird fake smell you get sometimes where they're like trying to make it smell like it's out of a bakery oven when obviously it doesn't.
I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Inexplicable. So for anybody who knows crullers, you can tell by the inside that is definitely not our good French donut friend, which is like a donut that's like puffed and like, I don't know, prepared slightly differently, I think. Mm-hmm. This is more of your easy bake version of that, I would say.
Yeah, they have an easy bake look to them. I mean, Krispy Kreme is kind of like a gigantic easy bake.
It is, but Krispy Kreme donuts, while I think they're generally pretty bad,
they're also really good, though.
Yeah, we're both right on this, because they've got that weird, like it's the cotton candy of donuts. Like, it's just hot, barely crisped, like sugar punk.
Right? Like, especially when they come right out the, like, assembly line.
Yeah.
It's so good. But it also does feel like if you stuck it in water, it would dissolve.
Yeah, like if you accidentally dropped it on a wet sidewalk, it would just keep dropping until it didn't exist.
Yeah. That's why you have to eat them, like, hot off the weird glazed machine.
They're big, wet, moving walkway, and then all the donuts come out on.
Yeah.
That's America.
And that's why I'm a patriot.
Oh, yeah. I was going to open the Rainier, but I guess I'll open this patriotic drink first.
Yeah, do that first. Oh, I have a little story to tell about
patriotism.
About patriotism, yes. Well, tangentially related to that. I had a brief run-in with the racist Karen type the other day at TJ Maxx, if you can picture that.
I can picture every inch of that.
It was my mistake for going to a TJ Maxx, but in my defense, TJ Maxx is amazing.
Yeah, it can be. You weren't dressed ethnic, though, right?
I don't think so. I don't think so. my personal run-in with her, but I was checking out, and the guy ringing on my stuff was black, and he looked like he was a teenager, like maybe he was 16 or 17.
That sounds like a TJ Maxx, yeah.
Yeah, and the girl next to us that was ringing up this woman's stuff was also like a teenager, and their whole line of grocery bags right now say "Black is beautiful" on them, because yay corporations. And this lady gets her stuff, and she's like, "Do you have a different grocery bag?" And the girl's just like, "No, these are just the ones that we have." And she was like, "Well, I only want to represent myself. I don't want to represent other people." And the guy like scanning my stuff is just like trying really hard to not pay attention to what's going on. And I'm just like, but then after she says that, she looks at me like I'm gonna be like, yes, we are on the same page about this tragedy of only having one type of bag. She looks at me for like affirmation. I'm just like, no.
Oh, you didn't look back like.
Yeah.
Nice.
You need a different bag. And she continues, and she's like, well, after this, I'm going to this party with my friends, and if I take this, they're like all gonna laugh at me. And she's just like, sorry, this is the only bag that we have right now. And she's like, oh, fine. And that was pretty much the extent of it. But it was just like an awkward few seconds. And then I realized in her stupid like mini shopping cart, she's got one of those tiny white dogs with like the tear stains all over its face. This is just hitting every single stereotype possible. But really upsetting for me. I think I need to do some like soul searching about my appearance. The fact that this woman would look at me and be like, right?
Do you get it?
I'm like, what did I do to come off like I was going to agree with that? But
you gotta buy some of the lipsticks that white people aren't allowed to use. I think that's step number one. Yeah,
I mean, I don't even remember what I had in my cart at the time. Some like makeup stuff. So I don't know, but that was the end of it.
Yeah.
But me and the teenagers just kind of were like.
Wait, and so how old was this lady?
Probably like in her 40s or 50s.
Cool.
Yeah. This was also the Nampa TJ Maxx, and that is like, I would expect that in a Nampa TJ Maxx. Maybe less so in the Boise one. But we're still in Idaho, so who knows?
I mean, the fucking fancy co-op that I live like practically right next to, you still get fucking weirdo like YT people there.
Yeah.
Huh. I'm not going to tell you who this is from. I'm just going to read you one of the like 10 text messages I've gotten in the last couple minutes. So, oh, good. It came with an image. I'm going to leave that out. Yeah. This says, apropos of nothing, the last time that text was sent back and forth was yesterday at like almost 24 hours ago. So this has nothing to do with anything. This text, without context, just says, I wadded up a tissue to stick up my nose to fish out some bugs, and it looks like a dong.
Like, the tissue when pulled out looks like a dong?
Yeah.
Oh. Did they get the bugs?
Well, let me enhance.
Enhance those bugs.
Yeah, I believe they did. I think so. Yeah.
Perfect.
Wait, no, they're complaining about it prior to putting it in their nose. So,
Wait, the tissue looked like a dong prior to putting it in their nose?
Yeah, so I guess they watered it up beforehand and accidentally made a dong shape. Look, I'm not the person texting this. I'm just receiving these messages.
Hey, sometimes you just gotta shove a tissue dong up your nose to get out the bugs. That's
You know
how
what?
it goes.
I'm still not going to say the name on this, but I'm going to just go ahead and send you an image real quick. There's no bugs included, don't worry.
I mean, okay.
Yeah.
My desk is sticky from...
Great.
I'm just gonna... Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. This all checks out. What are the odds?
Yeah, what are the odds? Hard to say. Apparently, and also unrelated, in Korea, they are apparently very violent still with their COVID nasal swabbing.
I can imagine. Didn't China just like shut down everything again? Basically, for COVID.
You know, let's go over. I think I got at least one of my 500 tabs on this phone that I can navigate away from. Let me check real quick. Yeah, I'll navigate away from Subway fast food brand makeup collection.
What? Get it back later.
Yeah, well, I'll swipe back out of it. I'll get back there. COVID news today, and let's see. 6 days ago, New York Times wrote a thing called "How to Prepare for the BA2, the Omicron subvariant." Coronavirus in the U.S. Latest map and case count. Let's just take a look at this real quick. Yeah, yep. That seems about right. The case amount in April 2022 looks to be quite a bit higher than the case amount in February 2020.
Checks out.
Let's see. In the last 14 days, there has been in the United States a 9% decrease in total reported cases. Do you want to guess what that total reported case amount is over the course of that 14 days, just for fun?
I would have absolutely no clue. This is nationwide?
Yeah.
Fuck. I would guess, well, let's guess 40,000. Sure, that's a number.
Oh, okay, it's 80,000. So, like,
Man,
you were thinking the right direction.
I was in the ballpark.
Yeah. We have 36% fewer people in ICUs as reported than on April 3rd right now, which was only 2,500, but also they don't have actual numbers on that. They just have the trend that it should be 36% less because of that whole thing where we stopped reporting on anything. So total COVID tests, total hospitalized, and total people in ICUs, we don't have numbers on. The only thing we
stopped keeping track.
The only thing we seem to have numbers on is cases because we have all of that like case tracking stuff set up, and then overall deaths, which right now is sitting at 980,000.
That's since the beginning of
Yeah. That's the sitting at about 1 million which was, what they were saying was where we were going to be sitting.
We should, when are they going to throw like a 1 million party? Like, yay, we made it, we did it, exactly what we said would happen. Yay! We're so good at projecting failure.
The current state of the virus as of March 31st was new coronavirus cases in the United States are still declining, though the pace of improvement has slowed significantly. So we're just we were doing okay, and now we're just kind of like on a nice even slope of, we're not getting better really, we're just kind of sitting on it. Which it's hard to imagine given like that even major like grocery store chains and stuff here, just like nobody's wearing masks anymore. Like who gives a shit? It reflects a pretty like common way of thinking, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just like fully checked out as far as COVID goes.
This is a fun one. Around 700 deaths are being reported a day, which is the lowest average since August 2021.
Fantastic. And it only took us a year, a long ass time.
And apparently there's a decent amount of places that are requiring vaccinations for workers to come back to offices, but the consequences vary widely, and oftentimes it doesn't mean anything. So you can require everything you want, essentially, but like nobody's actually making people like get a benefit for doing it, which I think is the way we should do it, or get penalized for not doing it, which I think is a bad idea, but is more likely with the way our system works. So.
Yeah.
Anyway. So, I don't mean to go into some really dark news here. I'm going to crack this beer open, get into some hard shit.
Yeah.
So, I didn't want to have to bring the room down like this, but I'm pretty much proficient at playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Now. I've got almost the whole thing figured out pretty good.
This is terrible news.
Yeah. I've been out here in Idaho for a few months and, looking for work, learning the ins and outs of this area, seeing the cool people at the co-op, whatever it is that's happening.
Yeah.
And in that spare time, you got to let off some steam. You got to do something to de-stress. And apparently what I decided is to go into what I didn't know existed, at least equal with the Magic the Gathering people in terms of like, what the fuck, noob? You didn't know how to sacrifice for your fucking...
Really?
You don't know how to sacrifice for this tribute monster? You trying to use a level 5 without tributing, you fucking noob? What the hell are you doing? You know you gotta use a fusion monster if you want to pull out this Predaplant, you fucking bitch. Anyway.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. I mean, you're looking for work. There's time on your hands. I mean, that's really two birds, one stone, because you can add it to your resume as a skill.
Thank you. Yeah, that's good to remember sometimes, is that I'm not doing this just for me. I'm doing it for the future me and all the things that I'm going to get from this experience.
It's really just an investment in your future.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, you can start a Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast.
I'm not doing that. If I start a Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast, you mean take a bath with a toaster, then yes, I will start a Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast.
Well, tomato, tomato.
So, for reference, there is a application called Master Duel that is available places, including the Nintendo Switch, which is how I'm using it. It's free. You get cards, like you get packs of things to add into your stuff for free. They give you a bunch of shit to start off with to like learn how to play. And then they have a bunch of stuff that simulates the idea that you're learning how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And you sure aren't. Like the thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! That I didn't understand until like a couple days ago, and I've been kind of learning this for like 3 weeks or something, is that there's like a complex system of very hard rules for how you can like put new things out onto the playfield. And like when you first, if you don't know the card game, the first thing you see is all of these cards with like 2 numbers on them with like a sword and a shield, and you think like, oh yeah, I kind of get it. Not realizing for me that actually those numbers don't mean fucking anything unless you like know how the rest of it works. So it's been something. For anybody who does want to start and is frustrated because it seems like things just don't work sometimes, it doesn't really explain that in order to use certain sizes completely arbitrarily, seemingly at first, level 1 through 4 you can use. Level 5 and 6 you can use in place of another thing, and level beyond 6 you have to take 2 things off of the board in order to put one on. And I don't know. I think it's a dumb game, but I'll keep playing it for now because it's almost too stupid to like ignore. the naming scheme of some of the stuff in this game is so wild that like they have a whole set of things that are called predapples, and the way that they make it so that you know what it is you're using is, instead of having like a section like in Magic, there's a section underneath the main thing on the card that says like what kind of creature it is, or if it's a spell or whatever. It says if there's like a certain type of category it's in, and then it has like a little description and like the numbers that are stock numbers for every creature type thing. And it's very clear once you know like maybe 4 types of cards, you're like done. You can do whatever. In Yu-Gi-Oh! They decided, what if we made this like the most obnoxious version of this it could possibly be? And so say there's a type of card that you want to use, or a type of card that says another type of card in it that you want to use, and you have things like that. As an example, this isn't going to be a real card, but it's based on a real card. Let's say there's a dragon monster, because like a third of the things in there are some version of like White Eyes Blue Dragon kind of bullshit. In the text, it'll say like, you can use this card to special summon a aroma card or an aroma creature. The problem is aroma isn't a card type per se. Aroma is a word that when you read the title of the card is shoved in there somewhere. So for example, there's a whole bunch of stupid dragon names, and one of the I think I have an image of this actually, of like a very general version of this. I'm just going to send over to you for an example. But while I'm talking, so there is like a bunch of made up words in Yu-Gi-Oh! That are also like translated from made-up versions of these words, I expect in Japanese, because it's a very Japanese game. And those, okay, here we go. Okay, which one of these is going to illustrate this garbage? Yeah, this will work. Let's send this over. All right, so let's say something says you can pull a card out that's a Roma. The word they use for something like that may be like Arc, a Romeo Sage, something, something, like this giant title. And it's up to you to see that the word aroma is in that title. And that's a aroma card. But they have entire playstyles that are based off of things that are using those cards and only those cards. And sometimes, as in this card that I sent you, would you tell me what the title of that card is?
Masterpiece, the true dragon slaying king.
No, it's Draco slang. And that could be very important because something might say you can draw a co-slay card out of your deck. And then it's up to you to see that that's in that word somewhere.
God. That's so annoying.
So go ahead and turn your phone to the side because you're going to need to. Zoom in, and then just go ahead and read the description, please. This is pretty standard for one of us.
Okay, to tribute summon this card face up, you can tribute continuous spell trap cards you control as well as monsters. Unaffected by the effects of cards with the same card type, monster, spell, and or trap as the original card type of the cards tributed for its tribute summon. This is gibberish. Once per turn, during either player's turn, if you control this tribute summoned monster, you can banish one continuous spell or trap card from your graveyard, then target one other card on the field and destroy it.
All right. So
cool.
Also, I just want people to see what this looks like. This is everything about this is a mess.
It's very busy artwork. It's kind of hard to see.
So if you look at that card image, can you tell it's a level 8 card?
No. Well, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess was that the star count at the top?
Yeah, it's the number of those Dragon Balls sitting under the title. So,
okay.
So a level 8 card would require, in order to play this card on the rules that are in the game, and this is where I think Magic actually does this much better. In Magic, they will explain the rules to every card in the card stuff, but it's not like this. It's not like a fucking paragraph about everything.
Right. It's very convoluted.
Yeah. So having 8 stars as opposed to 4 means you have to tribute summon, which is get rid of 2 creatures that you already own on the battlefield to put this on the battlefield. And that counts as a regular summon. So then you can only special summon if you summon anything else for that turn, unless this gibberish on the card tells you otherwise. So the thing that I've noticed most about Yu-Gi-Oh! Games so far is that there are people who have been playing this game for like as long as I've been alive, it seems like, and they are absolutely unquestioning about like how simple it is to play this game, and they are angry at anybody who says that maybe this game's a little convoluted and we should have a few more specific and clear rules for people who are trying to learn it. That is not an acceptable way to think in the Yu-Gi-Oh community at all.
Unfortunate, because they're wrong.
Yes. Another cool thing is that the game is fairly fun. Like it is it has one of those issues where while it is a free puzzly kind of card game, and all of that is great, making a deck. And this is other things they don't tell you. So they don't tell you what tributing is and why that's important to regular gameplay and not some sort of like rule text. They also, in the app, don't tell you that a deck is between 40 and 60 cards, and then a side thing of between like 1 and 15 cards that are specifically cards that can't be used unless they're in that side deck. So already, like, if you were to just be given a pile of Yu-Gi-Oh cards and told to, like, well, just read the cards and figure it out, it would literally be impossible. Like, where Magic has, like, it'll describe what the words mean in the text for a bunch of things.
Mm-hmm.
This game does not give a shit if you know what the glossary is. It just gives you like that thing that it says under that card. If it were written out to let you know how to actually use it, it would be an entire page, because that's how they're slimming it down. And in Yu-Gi-Oh, it seems that you're supposed to just buy these like full ass books to tell you how to do that stuff. So that's
perfect.
Cool. But I've still won a lot of games, because the other thing that I found out is in the app, if you're like, oh, the wind got weird. If you're doing pretty good, or even just taking a long time to like move the game along and somebody's not winning right away, which is the thing that a lot of those online card games have a problem with, is like people getting upset when they can't just like win.
Mm-hmm.
I've had games where I definitely probably would have lost, but the people quit and secede the match because they aren't winning fast enough.
Oh.
And so I've legitimately won about a third of the games that I've played, but the like probably like over half of the games that I've like played overall have just been people getting upset and like disconnecting from like, and to do that on the Switch, they are definitely powering their entire system off. Like it's kind of crazy.
Hilarious. I wonder what the crossover is between the Yu-Gi-Oh card playing community and the League of Legends community, because that sounds very familiar.
I bet it's got crossover. Yeah, the League of Legends and Yu-Gi-Oh communities, I will say, have a very similar idea towards like not knowing the basics. So I could see that being a similar mindset.
Yeah.
Honestly,
yeah,
I would say it's a lot of kids, but the age range for a lot of that stuff is not kids. It's probably a lot of people who have like tech jobs and stuff and are just like those fucking people who, because that's the other thing, is the people who quit out of games, and that being really regular, that is a thing that people who are like maximizing their gains in those games do, because it's faster to quit and to win the next match right away than it is to just play the game. So more likely than not, those are people who are like somewhere in our age range and not people who are like kids being assholes.
Yeah, there's probably some crossover there. That sounds pretty much like my experience.
Yeah.
I'm not winning this fast enough. It's doomed.
I mean, it's a better option than like I legitimately like this guy in some ways, but his game nights that I used to go to like years ago, it was like before I worked at the print shop, they were fun unless he wasn't winning. And this guy, at the time of these game nights, was almost 40. And it was like, you can't just get angry and storm out and also be in your own apartment where you can go to your bedroom and sulk. Like, those two things cannot intersect. You have to be in, like, your parents' house for that to be okay. And he was sort of a well-paid tech guy kind of person with a lot of board games and stuff.
Yeah. It's always funny to me when I hear of people like that, because that's a distinct possibility when you have a game night with lots of other people playing the game. You can't win every single time.
Yep.
But that's hilarious.
I feel like I am very comfortable losing a game, no matter what it is. And when it comes to video games, because, like, I'm a little, like, not like you would tell on here, but I'm a little self-conscious in real life of, like, the level of nerd that I am if I don't know somebody well. Like, I'll show you a house that I made in Animal Crossing to look fancy, because you know what kind of nerd I am. You're not going to be like, okay. But, like, I mean, in your head you might be, but, like, that's fine. But, like, I'm probably not going to take a house walkthrough for, like, my current roommates, because, like, they're busy playing soccer or whatever. Also, everybody in my house plays soccer but me. I'm terrible at soccer.
I didn't realize that everyone there did. I thought it was only a Merc thing.
Yeah, even a person who lives with you has been trying to play soccer lately. Yeah.
I actually thought I remembered the person who lives with me playing soccer previously, but maybe not.
Oh, probably. I get balls kicked at me aggressively on a lot of evenings out here by somebody who lives with me.
That is a hazard of that. I feel like every time I've ever tried to play soccer with people who know how to play it, I always end up getting kicked in the face with the ball. At some point. It just happens every single time.
Yeah, I feel like that's been my experience on attempting to play soccer in the past. Anyway, to finish what I was saying, I prefer to not win in video games because it gives me a little bit of distance from being the game master, which I'm not. I don't want that.
I always, especially like in a game night situation, where people are playing like complicated board games,
Mm-hmm.
I'm always prepared to lose because I can't pay attention when people are explaining the rules. Like, I try so hard, but I think if I had to pick like the worst possible torture for me, it would be having to learn a new board game every day for the rest of my life.
God, yeah, especially
I would hate it.
There are some options of, like, people who could teach those particular lessons that would be way worse than others too.
Yeah, well, I've had really nice people explain board games to me, and it's fine, but I just like can't retain it. And when they're talking, as hard as I am trying to understand and pay attention, I can't do it.
Yeah, that's why if somebody's trying to tell you how to appropriately win a game of being the bad guys from fucking Disney movies, it's important to have a big fucking thing of poutine there so you have something that you can do while you're pretending to listen to how fucking King John is supposed to get all the crowns or whatever.
Oh my god. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I actually played that game again recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think, or no, Alex's sister had it and brought it over, And I think it was the same game, but the way that it was being explained in the experience that you're talking about,
yeah,
made it so much harder than the game actually was that I just played the other day.
really.
Like, yeah, it might have been a different thing, but it was a Disney villain game, so I think it was.
I think it's the same game. I don't think there's a bunch of those.
Yeah, I think it was the same game, but I mean, it was still a little bit complicated because each like the basic game for everyone was kind of the same, like what you do, but each villain had their own like specific goals of how they win the game. So it wasn't like, it's like everyone's kind of playing their own separate version, and it was really hard to learn at first.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's the one that they were playing this time.
I think it has to be.
Yeah. But definitely wasn't as difficult as it seemed that time.
Yeah. To be fair, that was also with Nick, who is probably having a similar hard time to pay attention, and also a guy who was like very into Disney, and I think giving a lot of extra information along with how the game worked.
Yeah, I could see that game being pretty like in depth, but I was with people who knew me, and they knew they had to keep it pretty dumb for me to be engaged.
That should be the baseline for getting people into a game. Should be like, hey, do you want to play Mario Kart? Here's the gas button. Here's the button you hit if you want to skid. And here's the button you hit if you have like an item. And then just let them figure it out. Like, don't try to like get up into somebody's like game plan.
No, don't hit me with any strategy at all. Just like, let me figure it out.
Most games are designed for like lowest common denominator up. Lowest common denominator is all of the people who say their children are geniuses, and those child geniuses, no matter how stupid they are still gonna see a little arrow thing and hit it and notice that the car goes faster. You don't have to tell them about that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, most things can be figured out on the way.
So I figured off the topic of Yu-Gi-Oh, which, you know, if you're still listening at this point, congratulations.
You did it.
You've won an Odd Eyes Stellar White Dragon from me. You can play any Odd Eyes card if and only if you've already tributed 2 monsters this turn and only in the second main phase. So congratulations.
Yay!
Anyway, I thought maybe we would talk about the Treefort Festival some, because I know you probably have some experience there.
Yes. I will share my experience. I need a pee break real quick, and then I will be back to discuss.
Sounds good. Let me find this air horn if I can. Oh shit. Check this out. One upside to this whole area being like kind of overrun with Mormons. Boise's not as bad as Salt Lake in a lot of ways, like socially, and it's not as blonde here. It's still, compared to Seattle, it's really fucking blonde, but it's not as bad. Jackson's, which I think is a multi-state like chain of convenience marts, they have 2 bags of various candies like you would get at any convenience mart, the little like our name brand shit. That would be like Peachios and things like that. Well, they have the Utah specialty of these chocolate-covered cinnamon bears, which are they're very good. This is something that I used to get from my friend's family, the eponymous Natalie of Natalie's Shady Fiction Warehouse. Her family would send me cinnamon bears in a little bag, probably have like 30 bears in it, and only on Christmas, and like one bag a year. And I would, if I got one for Christmas this year, I would still be like finishing the bag because I would like save them, like maybe one every other day because you don't want to rush it. But now that I have found access, I mean, obviously they're not like fancy or anything, and they're not quite as good, but the flavor's there and they're still pretty decent. Anyway, it's been very exciting. Jackson's is a fucking trash mart. Like there's some stuff here that is kind of nice and surprising that it exists, but like it's still fucking trash out here. Don't be confused. That's not what I want. No, that's the wrong one. Here we go.
I don't think this resin works.
It just tastes bad.
Either I don't have enough of it to infuse my tea, or no, I think that's probably it. I mean, I don't know. I thought that was Mondo. Mondo?
Oh.
Mondo.
Mondu, come on. I don't know.
I'm sorry, my brain. It's just irreparably broken.
Let me see if... There we... That's a little better. Let me adjust the tone. Okay, what if I do this? Alright, well,
like a barge.
I've clearly fucked it up now. Anyway, I'll figure it out. I'll have an air horn at some point.
It'll come to you.
Yeah.
Ugh, God.
If you guys are hearing that ominous whooshing noise, it's because there's so much wind, it's coming through the crack in my window and blowing my blinds around. That's one.
I actually cannot hear that.
Okay, well, excellent.
I can't even hear wind outside for me, but...
The military veterans at Black Rifle Coffee Company have developed this kick-ass espresso with cream that is a blend of espresso, milk, protein, and caffeine to help dominate your day. I just want to note that this entire can only has 200 milligrams of caffeine in it, which is not that much. So,
yeah, you would think the vets would make a high octane fuel espresso.
Yeah. Have you heard Grimes talk?
No. Okay. Do you mean just in general or as of late?
Both.
Okay, in general, yes, I've heard her talk in like interviews, and I told you a really long time ago about a video she did in a magazine that was like when she was pregnant, and it was like what I eat in a day because I'm Grimes, and it was like a stick of butter, soaked toast, and then something else with like quinoa and veganese and nothing else, and so I saw that. I've heard her talk. I know she's been talking a lot recently, specifically with Hassan, and no, I've purposefully ignored all of that, actually.
She is really stupid. Just like right off the bat. Like, I know that everybody has roughly the same intelligence, typically speaking. And I'm going to get into some stuff later that goes over more of that stuff. How, like, the way that you talk has way more to do with how people see you than, like, what you're saying. Because, like, a lot of people are just fucking stupid because they will just, like, let it all out. And that's where Grimes clearly is sitting. And it, like, not to shame anyone, but she has maybe one of the worst lisps when it comes to, like, her like the way that she talks mixed with her specific lisp is really tough. Like, it sounds like somebody who is it's got big little sister energy, but, like, in a way that's, like, not good. It's got a lot of, like, are we all out of Cheerios energy more than it has, like, oh, I feel like this person is, like, emotionally there. Like, the bad little sister energy.
Yeah, I need to listen to more because I would love to get good at a Grimes impression.
You could. I think you could.
Fantastic.
You could do the Grimes hair for sure too. So, like, don't give up hope.
She's got a lot.
Yeah. She's very centrist. Now that I started with her and Hassan thing when she stopped by, and it was like, okay, this is about what I expect, but there's some secret tidbits, and then I went through some more of her stuff. But also hanging out with Nadia from Pussy Riot is one of those things. It's like, yeah, of course. I guess that's just what happens when you're famous, weird, like, what, South African something rich artist person.
Not Nadia.
Grimes.
Oh, Grimes. Oh.
I don't remember where she's from, but
if I remember, I think it's somewhere pretty boring. I know she's from the U.S. or maybe Canada, actually.
That fits, if that's true.
I'm just gonna
check. Just check on that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she is Canadian.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh wait, she has 2 kids now? Wow.
I also, like, I know moms are moms, but, like, fuck, man, that would be a tough one. In terms of when you're an adult and you're thinking back on your younger life, that would be a tough one.
I mean, especially when your mom names you X-A8 or, like, I don't know, fucking Roman numerals, and Exa Dark Sideriel. Those are 2 different syllables.
Exa Dark Sideriel?
Yeah, that is the newest child. Yeah, new child just dropped. Exa Dark Sideriel.
Great.
Jesus
cool.
Christ.
Anyway, I've kind of been on the outskirts of, like, I am both a sort of dorky weirdo, and I also think that Grimes' stuff musically is pretty bad, and I've thought that forever. Like, it's acceptable, but it's sort of like it's not super interesting.
There are, like, a few songs for me that I enjoy, but other than that, I find the rest of it to be, like, pretty similar and, like, all kind of sounding the same.
Well, to be fair, I have a few songs that the Beatles do that I enjoy, but I don't like the Beatles either. So, like, it's not even an indictment of quality necessarily. It's just, like, I don't like pop music, and when pop music breaks through, it's an outlier. And there haven't been many of those for Grime stuff. But the image of the like popular artist continues to be worsened by all the people that I see that are more speaking to the public than they used to be. I guess that's always how.
What you're saying is like that photo shoot she did in a moth costume posing with the Communist Manifesto, like that didn't do it for you?
I mean, so that's the thing, is I think it would have been like, oh, okay, that's kind of interesting if I had any...
But then she talked.
Yeah, also if I had any inkling that, like, that was a thing that she was doing. Because at that point, she'd already been, like, very pro-crypto and stuff. And, like, I don't care who you are, crypto and communism do not fit. Like, those are not things you can put together.
Right. Well, also I feel like for her, as soon as she got like seriously involved with Elon Musk, that kind of puts out the window a lot of what she said that she was. Like,
yeah. That's like a couple rungs under like being in a relationship with Putin, where it's just like, yeah, you can't really be like, wow, it was just fun at the time. Like, you've got a little like leeway when it's just like some random like somebody's... it's like the Rosario Dawson problem, where it's like you can assume Rosario Dawson's maybe an okay person, maybe, but like her husband or boyfriend or whatever, isn't Booker?
Booker.
Yeah, like you can also assume that like things ain't great if that's like the situation. So
Right. Well, they're not together anymore, so.
Yeah, but they were.
They were. Yeah. Dating Cory Booker, being with Cory Booker is a definite flag of some variety. Same with Elon Musk. I mean, that's pretty bad. That almost seems to me like she was just pursuing some like weird sci-fi fantasy life that she thought it was going to be, because she
I think that's
seemed
probably,
like a huge nerd.
That's probably true. And I don't think that being full of ideas that are not great makes you a bad person or anything like that. But I also think that they at least publicly said that they got together over discussing Roku's Basilisk is also like, you can't really defend yourself very well from that.
I don't actually know what that is.
Well, so it's like a very popular crypto bro style scary story where it's essentially the same logic that crypto uses, where it's like, well, see, it's people's minds. Like, we make things happen. So like if we have something on the internet, then we can anticipate the future, because like that's just like how people in tech work. It's that kind of shit. It's like in the stuff that I was watching Grimes talk about, she does the like, well, like all human invention like starts in sci-fi. Like sci-fi writers write about everything that we end up making like in their books first. And it's like, that's not true. You can point to like things in sci-fi that we angled towards because we thought they were good ideas, but like sci-fi and reality are intrinsically very different because needs aren't being addressed in sci-fi, obviously. Like, but the like it's that kind of like logic where the backstory of Roku's Basilisk and why it makes total sense that both Grimes and Elon Musk were into it is that it's a mimetic disease or whatever the fuck they call it on the internet. It's a idea that there will be a Roku's Basilisk in the future that is an AI, and that AI is going to not only be an AI designed to help keep the world going, but it's also going to be an AI that has the intention of doing it by like any means necessary. So Elon Musk is into it because he's an asshole, and he isn't very like thoughtful, really. And the idea behind it is that if you put money and effort into making it become a reality, then when it does become a reality, you're going to be on its good side, basically. And if you didn't try to help it become reality, then you're not, and it might just destroy your life or whatever. It's very stupid. And it was all like thought up by a futurist, which is like basically the job title of techno grifter is usually what I would probably call a futurist.
What that sounds like, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of futurists have been involved in like things that are adjacent to like video game design and things like that, where they're dorks and they want to be like your abusive like Bikram yoga instructor, but instead they have an avenue into like tech shit. So
great.
Yeah. And then I found out post.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then I found out post having Nadia show up in the stuff with the two of them. I was like, oh, so she's not in Russia anymore, right? She's out of prison. So like, what's she up to? And then the first thing I fucking find is she has created a new cryptocurrency that is designed to put funds towards Ukrainian relief efforts, but it's such a like the idea of like cryptocurrency will be the thing that helps like Ukraine is just like it's such a mashup of like can you just you have a lot of popularity, you have like a popular OnlyFans, you have all this stuff. Just like ask people at your shows, at your like online venues and stuff if they'll donate. That's so much simpler than making a cryptocurrency to
Right. Like, why do you have to add this extra layer of complication? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
But anyway, so yeah, turns out in that effort, I also got to find out that Nadia from Pussy Riot is also a obnoxious tech bro person. But you know, that's I guess to be expected when people have money. They got to do stupid shit instead of
they're really the people I like are really getting recruited into crypto shit like left and right. Like Eric Andre too has been pushing crypto, which I was pretty bummed about. I'm like,
yeah, like somebody who is an absurdist comic should just by nature of what they're doing see crypto stuff and be like, oh, that's stupid. Like you would think that would be the thought.
You would think.
But
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Like I clearly like with Hassan as an example, I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily for people with correct-ish opinions to become wealthy if they're doing like a net good, because that's kind of what we have to settle for in the meantime. But I have a hard time imagining like all of these kind of celebrities / minor celebrities getting involved in crypto is going to be a net good eventually. Like, I don't know.
I don't think it's a net good. I think it's a net bad. But I do think it might have the ability to cripple Texas as a state. So that's fun.
I mean, I would kind of take that as a byproduct. That would be fine. Especially like all the stupid anti-trans shit they've been doing. I think that's fine.
I
There
think
was
just a side note, last time I looked, anti-queer bills in general, I think are like in the beginning of this year presented by like 42 of the 50 states. Like it's insane how much of that shit has been brought.
It's crazy. I was watching Vosh stream the other day, and I think he was talking about, I want to say Utah.
Yeah.
I am not for sure that that's what the state was, but I think it was Utah. And
there's a good bet. Trailblazers.
Yeah, I would put some money on it being Utah. And he was talking about like a number of bills that had been passed about like trans athletes in schools.
Yeah.
And a bunch of fuck, what was it? He was like talking about how the fact that they're legislating realistically probably like 4 people in the state is absolutely insane, first of all, just on its face. And then, of course, the real problem was like they're legislating around like women's sports, and there's like one trans athlete in the state that is competing in women's sports.
Yeah.
So they passed like multiple bills basically because one trans woman wants to play a sport.
It's a bunch of
so much of a non-issue.
A bunch of the whitest, most beardless men you've ever seen, all standing in a group of thousands, pointing their fingers at one woman, going, "This is reasonable."
Yeah, this person is nuts. The danger. This person is really what we should be spending our time on. And it's just so frustrating that it's like really that it garners so much attention with everybody. It's such like a culture war thing, which is obviously exactly what they want, like everyone to be distracted by, instead of focusing on how shitty they are at their jobs. But you know, whatever.
Yeah, the trans stuff is really tough because it's like the kid, like you must report these things if you see them, whether it's temporary guardianship, like teachers and shit like that, or it's like down to the parents. All of those types of bills. That shit. All those types of bills are completely insane because they're so vague that they leave it open to like whoever's interpreting it at the time to be like, well, that's child abuse. Which, like, if there's anything we shouldn't be vague about, is fucking child abuse. Like, I would rather they took the alternate path and they did the thing that everybody was worried about happening in like the year 2000, where it was like, well, if we tell people that it's like illegal to spank their kids, then like, what's that gonna do? Like, I would much rather that were the like direction we took it, because like, fine, if everybody is trained from the time they're little to understand that like hitting isn't good, period, then like that's probably fine. That's a net good. Like, we don't need to have even kids who are being like actually terrible and like trying to stab other kids or pets or something be hit. We should probably put them somewhere where somebody can like talk to them in a way that they'll like understand instead. Anyway, weird side note, but like the abuse thing really gets me. Okay. Weird. Getting sister news. I'm getting, my phone's fucking jam-packed full of shit right now. I don't know why it always happens when we do this stuff. Anyway, the the kid stuff is really rough. The sports stuff is really weird because if this were any other situation, I don't think they would be able to make the same call about it being like not really about being afraid of like improper gender or whatever for like conservatives. Like right now they're trying to make this case that they would be like too good at the sport if it's a trans woman for whatever reason, which is like degrading to the idea of sports because they're applying it to everything. So like completely ignoring the fact that even if you're giving the generalization of like women tend to be better at blank and men tend to be better at blank, their version of it is men are better at everything. We can't just let them in there. But then it's also taking that weird Alex Jones tip of like all trans people are abusers. So like if we let them near anybody else, then they're going to be abusive, which is like such a fucking I'm not shocked that that's the tack they're going with, but it is shocking every time I hear it. Because like I don't it's going for queer people in general too at this point. Like the
I'm sure.
The if you're gay, you are a deviant thing is coming back hard. Like there's a lot of people who are much more openly talking about that shit. Have you seen, along these lines, but not exactly the same, the 2 music videos that have come out of the right wing lately? Because I could send them to you.
I think you sent me one, and I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
No. But I have it. I saved the link so that I could watch it later.
So the one that I sent you that way, was it American Heart?
Yes.
Okay, let me just pull this other one up, and I'll just text this one to you. You can have this on your.
Oh, great! Thank you.
Right under that Yu-Gi-Oh card. That's the other one, and it is Ron DeSantis's new theme song, "Sweet Florida," done by Van Sant of fucking Freebird. So,
okay.
I forget the what that fucking band is now. Anyway.
This is on the Daily Caller YouTube?
Yeah.
That's fucking hilarious. Alright, here we go. American Made. Is that the band? Yeah.
Yes, and...
Song, American Heart by American Made.
Look at the likes.
They don't even... It says 408 likes, and it's not even telling me how many dislikes on mobile. Here, I'm just going to dislike it. Can I? Oh, no, I can't because I'm not signed in. What's the ratio?
It's bad. Also, for the views to likes ratio, it's that weird thing that all right-wing places do where it's like, clearly this is not something that people are actually watching. Like, this is not popular.
Yeah, it has 8.5 thousand views. It has 40 comments. The top comments are, God bless America, the land of the free. Deborah Clements says, Americans need to be reminded of who we are and how important our birthright of liberty is.
Yeah, great. I think it's worth noting they do reference Obama in this song, but they use his code name Renegade, which is interesting.
Really? Okay. Alright,
Yeah.
I guess I'll just watch it. This is 7 minutes long.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, is it's a tough watch. And the Ron DeSantis one is 5+ minutes long.
Do they not know how songs go? Like,
no, they don't. They're done in the style of like fucking 70s into 80s like shitty rock. Of course they don't know how music works.
This looks like it was filmed in the foothills of Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
We're not freaking sheep.
So I think it's worth noting, American Made put a lot of QAnon reference kind of shit into this one, which is a fun one to have on the Daily Caller's official YouTube.
Nice.
There is a little QAnon-y shit in the DeSantis one too, though. So, it's getting around. Much like COVID, it's just getting worked into the everyday life of everybody.
It's just, embedding itself. You remember on St. Patrick's Day when you were like, hey, does your cookie have Q's on it?
Yeah.
It did, but this is not QAnon related. It's just a Q, and it reminded me of it. But it did. My cookie did have Q's on it, and the reason is because there's a bar on Fairview that is just called the Q Bar.
Oh, is that where it's from?
I think that's where it's from.
Okay. Interesting choice, Q Bar. That is a bold
it looks like
statement.
It looks like it's been around for a really long time, but I don't.
Okay.
I've never been there, but. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Why does this man just has a lizard on his shoulder?
That's America, baby.
Okay.
This whole song has the vibe to me of that by the side of the street desert mall that we stopped at on the way back from the call.
Yeah. I like how just American is to them completely synonymous with just like we ride horses around barrels and we have cowboy hats. Like, have you been to the rest of America ever in your life? Like, I would say the majority of it.
Only under duress, brother.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Hey, there we go.
Motorcycle gang. Woo. Okay. Renegades down, God wins.
Yeah. That reference for where we go one, we go all is like the Q tagline. So they got that in there.
Perfect. Great.
Yeah. And then, the reference to just sort of God winning over Obama really paints a picture, I think.
I mean, he is the Antichrist, so.
I've seen those pictures. No man would smile like this. If they think Obama is satanic, they should really look into the other people who work at Netflix and shit like that. They're gonna find a lot of Satans around here because everybody is very Obama-esque in the not completely detestable side of weird tech people. They're still detestable in what they do, but that's just sort of the way people are.
Right.
Sort of a nice suit, socially fine and condescending. If that's the devil to you,
I got bad news for you.
Yeah.
Oh wow, this one starts in a recording studio. That's how you know it's real music.
Well, it's guaranteed. Once you hear the song, it is 100% dad bait. There's no chance that everybody's dad is going to hear this, and if they don't hear the words, they're going to be like, that's a good song. Yeah.
They got a wall of guitars. That's how you know it's good.
Well, they're a popular band, unfortunately.
Ew, there's so much of his face in this.
Yeah.
There's a clip in the beginning where a dad is holding his, pigtailed daughter on his shoulders, and Ron DeSantis just comes up and is like, shaking her hand.
Ugh. Dad bait. Absolutely dad bait.
It is. Sweet Florida.
This is like, if I walked into the back of the print shop and Todd was listening to that, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad they put the lyrics on here so I could really see what's going on.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, hold on. There's an important lyric.
Absolutely read through those.
Was that ever not on the table?
Yeah, not like the rest of the world.
Was this during COVID times? Okay,
this just came out.
It's really late.
This is new. Both of these songs are new.
He's shooting us straight. It must be so easy to write like a patriotic campaign song.
We could write a patriotic song easily.
An AI could write a fantastic patriotic song.
Oh, that should. God. I maybe our musical edition for our 100th episode includes some patriotism.
Oh God. Okay.
So, yeah. Maybe we get some hats. Maybe we pick up some of those hats that I saw, and we
those were good hats. Yeah.
Did not find me well.
No email has found me well in many a year.
Yeah. I think
it's dominance.
I think that daddy hat would really give the right vibe for me in this town.
Oh, I think so. Absolutely.
That plus the fingernail polish. Like, I've got a whole unhirable outfit, so I can I gotta be normal till I have a solid job, and then I'm gonna be unhirable after that, and I'm fine with it.
I think if you commit hard enough, you actually could find a job as like a super Republican's secret side piece.
Oh.
That's like totally possible.
I mean,
there's no way that's not happening.
Well, yeah. I mean, they wouldn't be super Republicans if they didn't have some sort of thing they were ashamed of, right?
It's a requirement.
They probably got spanked as kids and thought, that's kind of all right. It's kind of into that.
Probably.
Yeah. I'm looking at the list of did you have a topic you wanted to go to?
Sure. I do have one topic that I guess could segue from this email. Did not find me well.
Yeah.
One of my topics is burnout recovery. Which is a fun one. How's that? non-high octane fuel.
I would have expected more from the veterans, if I'm being honest, but I mean, here, this is their logo for Black Rifle Coffee Company. Like, come on, pay somebody.
I do like the cross sights though. That's a fun little.
Yeah, they've got different camos for their different blends. So they're doing something. Anyway, yes, please continue.
A design choice. Okay, so I found a while ago, I mean, as everyone knows who's been listening to this podcast for any amount of time, I hate working. Now,
never heard of it.
Mostly, as I think a lot of people do post-COVID. Mine is not really related to COVID. It's just that I've been doing it for too long and I hate it now. But I found she's a counselor, psychologist person, but she specializes in like job counseling and like career counseling.
Okay.
And she has this series of videos. She also has like a blog and other stuff outside of TikTok, but that's just where I found her. Talking about burnout recovery.
Okay.
And one of her first videos that I saw was she was like, she was saying, I just realized most of the people who follow me don't know or haven't realized, and I haven't made it clear, that recovering from burnout usually takes like 3 to 5 years to fully do. And which I really hadn't considered, but it makes a lot of sense. She was talking about how burnout and like hitting your head against the wall for a long time, trying to not be that way, as most other things do, changes the chemistry of your brain, essentially. She was talking about her own kind of story and like when she stopped working the first time and was going through her own like burnout cycle or whatever. She went to the doctor and had them test a bunch of her like hormone levels and cortisol levels, and her cortisol levels were like through the roof. Like she was obviously really stressed, even like months after quitting the job that she was trying to get away from. But I just thought that was interesting that it changes like the actual chemistry of your brain, like not only with like stress levels, but also I think she also mentioned like it was either serotonin or dopamine, I forget which one, but like it by the end of the burnout process or whatever, your serotonin or dopamine levels are like completely fucked, which is why she was and she was explaining that's why when you're experiencing burnout, you probably like don't really find anything fun and like have a hard time being happy and finding joy in literally anything. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, this sounds super familiar. But I had never considered the fact that it was also like very biological and would take that long to get through, and that's like 3 to 5 years of what she called like active recovery. So like doing things to mitigate I don't know, whatever environment that you were in when you were getting burnt out. So I think she was talking about slow living, which I like to shorten into sliving, but it's a whole new kind of sliving, where you just really don't do a whole lot. And I'm still kind of looking into what exactly that means, but I think she described the years of active recovery as basically just like therapy and probably not doing a whole lot of like extra activities, and especially taking a break from the stuff you were doing that you like can't do anymore. She had a whole segment on like, oh yeah, and especially like if the thing you were doing was something that you enjoyed and like really wanted to do and were really passionate about at one point, it's going to take you a really long time to like that again, and you might not ever.
This is legitimately like and this is even in context, you talking about something that is art related, but like this is a super common thing in artists, and it's kind of been a known thing for a long time, where like people talk about art block and all that kind of stuff, but like I would say for as long as people have been, probably longer than people have been having issues with like working shitty industrial jobs that only make things worse in most respects, and then having like think about like terminal parentitis, where you're like people who have had kids went into jobs to like barely support everything that your family's doing for that period of time, and then when your kids move out, your family like breaks apart in some way, or like something just drastically changes. And I think that is exactly what this kind of thing is like you can't maintain that shit for that long. And then like the other part of it is like artists have never been like paid well in like modern society. They've never been like by and large, it's kind of like YouTubers or something. Like, sure, people can be out there like making $1 million or whatever, but most people are out there making fucking nothing, and like they do stuff on the side, and like that's fine. But because of that style of living, and because we expect people to only be worth something if we grind away any of their comfort, because that's what real men and real women do, right? Like they give up their own happiness so that the community can live better. And like it's like creative people are always like the front line for that shit, because like when you care about something that's extra beyond even that, like you're gonna like my fucking never taking any time to like just relax, and then still having like that sort of occasional comment where it's like, oh, you take naps in the middle of the day sometimes, like, huh, well, like, you do you. Like it's that kind of thing where it's just like society is built to like just focus on like you being the right kind of person. And if you're also a weirdo who's like doing your own shit, you're gonna get just fucking stomped by it. So yeah, like doing art as your job, even if it was like sort of advertising-y and like all of that shit, it's not really surprising that that has a pretty rough burnout associated with it.
Yeah. Well, and I think I also kind of did it in a very isolating way, because I just did freelance for fucking ever, or the last like 3 or 4 years. So I think that was pretty bad for me also. And of course, I'm sure like my own mental crises have like a role to play in this and probably accelerate all of it. But yeah, I think up until this year, where like a few months ago, I decided to start like pumping the brakes on my freelance stuff. I was like, well, if I do this for much longer, I'm gonna die. And so I just kind of like quit as much as I could. And um, I don't know. I am just kind of, I don't know. I'm in like break mode, I guess. Not really, because I'm still kind of working, but it just is super hard to feel any sort of motivation to do anything creative, even for like my own edification. Like I can't really do art anymore without just being frustrated the whole time. It's really annoying. And that's like, it's slowly getting better the last month or so since I've kind of slowed down on my work. Like, I've been able to draw a little bit more without it being a big thing.
Yeah.
And I've made like little things like here and there, but it really has changed just my entire brain, because I can remember times when I would draw for fun, and I would do it just as like an activity, just because I enjoyed it, and I like can't do that anymore.
Yeah, that
fucking sucks.
That's that fucking like art block cycle. Like when you get into that spot where like you're, I mean, for lack of a better term, I guess, when your heart isn't in it, like when you're not like pulling from something that you want to do and you're just doing it because like, I remember this being fun. It just doesn't work. Like, that's like, I've noticed even here, like if I do, like I'm stressed out pretty constantly lately for a number of reasons, but like post doing my move and like getting things kind of figured out here, and now like dealing with like, you know, sort of wanting to avoid like money issues and trying to like get things rolling in different directions, and the work that's associated with that, I can still do art because it's not associated with other stuff I'm doing, so it's still a release. But when I try to listen to like podcasts that I really like, that I would like listen to fucking 8 of a day at like jobs and stuff before, I've found that like I'm completely unable to like comprehend like the stuff they're talking about if it's a day after I was doing all that kind of shit. Like I have to be like quieter, and I have to be more like general with the things I'm doing. Like it's very noticeable sometimes when like your body just doesn't want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've totally noticed in the last year, just like things that my brain is different about now that I didn't really notice before, but now like trying to be more conscious about how I'm thinking and like how I'm feeling about stuff as I'm doing it. Um, and I totally like trying to just know and then just let other for most people to take a break and like take less work on. I could do that because I saved up and I didn't really do anything for a few years.
Yeah.
But but I can't imagine like for most people who don't have the opportunity to do that, like yeah. I mean, I'm going through it, trying to figure out what I even like anymore.
Yeah.
And having that added pressure of like, you can't stop doing this because you need money.
That's
really
like the stuff that I've been looking at currently. Like, I'm unwilling to stop doing the things I like doing. Projects like this, or like projects like my personal shit. Like that's gonna stay, and it may like speed up and slow down, but like that's the stuff I care about doing. But like when it comes to a job, honestly, the things that sound the best are like, give me a spot where I can just like get good at something alone in a room and occasionally be like, hey, how's it going, Bob? Like that's totally fine with me. Like I don't give a shit about like, I'm not looking for upward momentum. I'm not looking for like getting paid big time. I just want to fucking live my life, and like I have to work. I'm not getting something like to keep me safe. So like I'll work, but like I don't want to just do like I don't want to do something that's really challenging and like important, which is almost never the case, just because like people are gonna say that's what makes it worth it, because it's not. Like it's very frustrating. Anyway,
Well,
it's very frustrating.
it's such a shitty, it's such a shitty balance, because like to live the life that I want to, I have to be making a decent amount of money.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do any of those jobs right now. Like, I don't want to go back to social media management or like making advertising campaigns for people. Like, I'm so fucking tired of that. I can't do that anymore. And I think what I had wrong for a long time, and I'm still kind of figuring out, is I always wanted to find a job where like I would be happy and I would feel like my skill set was needed within that job. But also I was doing something like important, or something that felt important to me. And I've never really found that anywhere. I still think, like, when I say important, I kind of mean like in terms of like the world.
Yeah.
But like just doing good, like a vague good, I don't know what that would be. But I've always wanted to find that, and I just pretty much came to the conclusion that I'm probably never going to find that in like marketing, despite the fact that you can get paid a lot in marketing, but it just is not. It just like kills your soul.
Yeah.
After a while, I don't know how these people that I talk to that are like marketing consultants have been doing this for years and years. Just I don't know. I don't know how.
Honestly, I think it's a difference in the way people think. Like the people who can manage doing that for so long probably aren't going home and going like, okay, what projects do I want to do? They're probably going home and being like, oh, this sounds really tasty, or like, I can't wait to catch up on this show. And like, I think that's a totally reasonable way to be fulfilled, but also like, that is exactly those two types of people, which is like two of many, is the reason why we need like a universal basic income, where it's like, when I'm not able to do these jobs as efficiently and as well as I should, just fucking let me live for a while. Other people are going to do those jobs, and then I will come back and do more stuff. Like, there's no reason to make people fucking kill themselves, especially when there's no goddamn like health safety in this country. Like, just the least you can do as like a government is do what a government's supposed to do and keep people safe while they're living and like paying taxes. Like, that seems fine. That doesn't seem like an issue.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that would be super nice to have.
But you know, if we did that, then we couldn't just say that it's up to you, which is code for it's up to people who have wealthy family or whatever, and then we keep all that wealth away from certain families so that we can like keep making things a little better for certain people. Because heaven forbid that's not the case. Also, all the fucking studies that show that it would almost certainly be better for the money in the country if we spread it around and had people just spend as they wanted to. Almost everything shows that, like, minus billionaires, there would be so much more money in this country to, like, make everybody's life better and the country richer, but those people have so much power that they can keep the money from being treated that way. It's very frustrating. There's a simple way to solve it, but people get really upset when you talk about it, so it's hard to get to that.
Yeah. I don't know.
Nobody does.
Nobody does, except for this lady on TikTok, I guess. I don't remember her channel name, but if I find it, I'll like actually shout her out because I think she has some good advice. And I'm
Okay.
just gonna continue to do what she says, I guess, because I can't afford actual therapy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I will lodge one complaint. I think the term burnout is the same for me as the term self-care, where it is another term developed by people who are wealthy or can like declare things that way, and it's a way to obfuscate away from actual health. But like,
oh, for sure, yeah.
But at the same time, if you're trying to like make your living helping people with stuff like that, like you got to use the current terms, so you're not going to get like publicity or anything. So I do have a problem with that term, but I also like there's not really a way around it. So
yeah, it's kind of one of those.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I've got a bunch of different sections that I was considering doing, but I think the one I really want to do, and the one that I hinted at to some people and got a lot of general excitement for, is it's having to do with a place that we both worked, but it's using that as a way of explaining out what rich people mean when they say there's not enough money there for something. And whoever's listening to this, I know I've gotten complaints from several people that the political stuff is not, that it's not fun, and that people stop listening when they get to it. Just toughen up for a minute. This isn't actually going to be very political. This is just going to be, honestly, gossip with some additional effort into it. So keep listening. It's pretty annoying to me, but it should be at least somewhat interesting. So we worked at a place. If anybody who works there ever listened to this, they certainly wouldn't make it 2 hours in.
No, we're very safe. I can think of one person who would ever possibly do that,
and that's fine.
And that's fine.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about that place is being there for long enough at this press company, so paper goods, all this shit, doing a lot of printing. You did a lot of design work. I did a lot of production work. We were both doing quite a bit of stuff for a few years at this place. Me about twice as long as you, I want to say. But you did a bunch of weird off-site stuff, and I don't envy that at all. Anyway, so the people who run this company, specifically, there's one person who runs this company, and then their husband used to work there, but they stopped about the time you came in. So I'll just refer to them as the owner, because I feel like that's explanatory enough. Anybody who knows who it is going to know from that. Mm-hmm. And so we would have like yearly meetings, and then like monthly meetings that I usually wasn't invited to, but since I was essentially treated like a contract worker the whole time I was there, of course that would happen. Also, as a side note, so you get sort of the ethics of this place, I started working there for $12 an hour. I worked there for 6.5-ish years, a little over 6 years, I think. Over that time, I went from making $12 to $17, but in the middle, I went from making $12 to eventually making 17 as a jump for the last like 2 years I was there. Other than that, I only made $12 up until that point. I've always been very heavy into budgeting. I know how much I was making. So when I was leaving, I gave a pretty good amount of warning, all that stuff. I went into the records of my employment, and over the course of the time I was there, I had listed nearly yearly raises of at least $1. And it ended at my wage I got at the end, but it started at my starting wage, and it had just weird fake references to me getting more money every year that never happened.
Huh.
So that was interesting. And that kind of sets up the feeling of this company. I was very comfortable there most of the time, and I also enjoyed doing my job. But like, they definitely ran it to be sort of a little less clear and a little like very typically exploitative, honestly, of a company. Sizing wise, this company oftentimes was around like 5 or 6 people total, but sometimes it got up to 10. But we never hired anybody after that, even though we did more business, because if we added a person after that, we'd have to put in another bathroom. So they refused to do any of that. Also a pretty good example of how that place worked. So the thing, and I definitely want to get any stories that you have that are along these lines if you think of them. But the main thing I want to get to first is that in those yearly meetings, we would get a general idea of what our business as a total business was earning every year. And the year before COVID, it was above 900,000, which is pretty good, especially for a company that doesn't have that many people working there. And it was projected to be over 1 million for the next year, and that year got bisected by COVID, so it under performed. So what I've been thinking about that a lot, because I was like, so a story from working there, we had a job. Do you remember how much those Applebee's things ended up costing Applebee's? The like 7 boxes of flyers, because I believe it was like a decent amount of thousands of dollars by the end of that full thing.
I really don't remember.
Okay,
How much
so my understanding is that each of those boxes in the business payout of that job ended up costing them like $1,700 or something. It was something that was much higher than I originally thought, because it was explained to me by the amount of each printing that we were doing, even with that like price reduction. In essence, though, the hours that I put in was about 1/3 of the total process. Like it wasn't a huge amount, but it was about like 3/4 of a day's worth of my work that I was doing when we were doing those. And especially at the time that I was getting paid $12 an hour or 14 or whatever it is that they decided it was off to the side. The amount of money that I was making off of doing that job ended up being like 5 or 6% maxing out if I had like taken a lot of time to do it of the actual job. And the way that ended up working, and that was like years ago, like that was probably almost 5 years ago from now, that I was first looking at that discrepancy. That made me want to start figuring out like, well, how much money do any of us make? And how much does that actually impact like the business? Because the thing that we always heard was, we don't make any money running this business. Like it's a labor of love, essentially. And we were told repeatedly that the owner did not pay themselves, which is like, I mean, you can already tell from that that's bullshit, but like, like, I wanted to know how much bullshit. So, using the amount of money we were making, I went through and I looked at taxes on city income, and this is for downtown Bellevue. This is not for the outskirts where we were. So it is going to be slightly more expensive. And I took every version of the money that I took out of the total, the harder edge version of what it would be. So I essentially went through and said, like, what's the max amount that we could reasonably be paying for everything in this year that we made over 900,000, and then I brought it down to 900,000 as the starting point. I wanted to be very generous on this stuff, just in case like there's anything I wasn't factoring in. But I went through and I factored in wages. I factored in space based on warehouse prices and storefront prices in downtown Bellevue. I went through product, and I did a high estimation of $100,000 for yearly product, which I think is way overselling what we actually spent on it. I went through and did B&O taxes, which is a special type of tax that Bellevue has. And I went through and did taxes on city income as well. And then just generally like added in a little bit of money for like maybe utilities. And my goal in this was trying to figure out how much of this money goes to the company owner and how much of this money goes to the people feasibly who rented us the space to have that business, because those are the two levels of like authority that I want to see what they're getting.
Right.
And what I came up with after $900,000 for a yearly amount, taking out wages, I gave a high estimate on what we all made and when we had a fair amount of people, and that was $300,000. And like, for most of the time, I think that's probably pretty reasonable for like the totals.
Yeah.
And I added in, like, in case there was fudging space, I just had the amount of employees and I included the owner for that. Because, like, I don't know. But as far as I'm aware, nobody made over like 25 an hour, right? Like that was pretty much the, like.
I can only think of one person who might have been making more than that. Right. And I never heard about how much they're making, but I don't know of anyone who's making that much.
I believe I heard through a mutual friend that they made about 27. And I tried to base most of the estimates off of, I knew what I and the pressman made. And I just sort of took a rough estimate of like, I can put 30,000 in there for like other people, because who knows if they're getting like extra pay for certain things and whatever. Anyway, even given that, if you take 30,000 a year paid by the company, 300,000 is 10 of that. So
yeah.
Generally, we didn't have that many people, and when we did, I think that's a little generous for the amount that we would actually be getting. Especially because I made like 2/3 of that topping out. So, wages, the space, like the space rental, like I had to estimate on square footage. I had to estimate on like, based on like what a medium to small warehouse was for the area, all that kind of stuff, like insurance prices. It's still a fuck ton of money. Like the insurance wouldn't be going to the owners, but the fucking space in general, based on Bellevue's prices, could have been as high as like 250,000. So like a pretty good amount of money.
Yeah.
The problem is the rest of the taxes, even with the high amount of cost for product, is not very much. Like the city taxes in Bellevue are kind of like people talk about it like it's a huge amount of tax, and I did it for a large space, and like the highest amount of tax I could get out of it for what we had was about 10,000. And when you're factoring that into like 900,000, like that's not very much.
Yeah,
like,
that's crazy.
And like I had to look this up in several different websites and stuff, including the City of Bellevue stuff, because I was like, that can't fucking be right. That's not enough tax for them to complain about it, right? That's so small. But no, the tax rates for these two taxes are 0.14 and 1.6. Like the two taxes that you pay yearly in Bellevue are like fucking nothing.
Yeah.
From my perspective, as a person who is poor, generally. Anyway, so the amount of money that could be going to the people who own that building being up to like 250,000 is a fuck ton of money. That's like a lot of money to have a place that you occasionally send somebody out to that's like, oh, this roof doesn't look good. Like, it's very frustrating hearing that. But then at the end, what do you think the fucking disparity of what could have gotten paid for that space, even with $100,000 worth of product, what could have still remained of that amount of money at the end of the year? Do you have any estimations?
Trying to remember all of the numbers that you've said so far. So like probably max, you said like 300,000 for employees.
Yeah.
10,000 to cover like city taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said 250,000 for the space.
Yeah, up to that. Yeah.
Up to that. That leaves like what, around 300,000.
So if
disparity.
Taking out like the other things, like the potential insurances and things that they might have to, I estimated it had to be at least about 250,000. Like that is the lowest amount that feasibly they could be taking home at the end of the year. So like that explains the McMansion being affordable, but also like that is not working at cost. That is not coming out as a labor of love at the end of the year. That's a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
Also, the other thing that pisses me off is that is roughly equivalent to the amount of rental that it would cost to have that place rented out to the business. So, like, inherently, her constantly complaining about how fucking expensive it was to rent it is like, by what metric? Like, your entire business is rented out for an equivalent amount of money that you're just getting to take home each year. Like, you have one kid and you have a husband who is working in some form of law, presumably making an okay amount of money too. Like, as soon as I went through all of this stuff, like, my sympathy for any of that shit that was remaining after all the other things that were like pretty fishy is nothing. Like,
right. I think probably what would frustrate me the most about that is just the kind of emotional weight that was placed upon all of the employees as like it being imperative that we do everything correctly to like maximize profits and minimize waste of product and like which is, you know, fine, but just the extra, there was an element of like extra stress placed on everyone there.
Well, like,
to do it
and not to make this all about me, but I'm definitely upset about the things that happened to me. That fucking deckling job that I did that took overnight, that like, oh, just do this at home, do it overnight, I'll pick it up in the morning. Like 9+ hours of this fucking trash that ruined my hands for a while may have ruined my hands in some ways for like long-term stuff. That fucking job was for a $20,000+ job that we did.
Yeah.
My payoff of that job for doing, granted, like maybe a quarter of the actual like end product. If it were actually like a fair quarter, would have been a quarter of my yearly earnings off of that job. Like the idea of having our owner slash like office boss there, like being paid roughly $250,000 a year to manage all of these products is absolutely crazy. Like in a more fair setup, the idea of kicking us all, let's say, $5,000 extra a year when we had the entire like amount of money that they could possibly be getting over the course of a year would have cut their take home down to maybe, because all of this is as generous as I could be, maybe $200,000. And that's at maximum occupancy of what we ever had for people there. And for people like me and the pressman, that amount of money equaled like 4 months of pay sometimes, at least. It's kind of nuts how like bad the messaging was, and how like obviously one-sided that whole situation is after like actually going through this shit.
Right, and like kind of the mindset of the whole place was like this small business, like you keep saying, labor of love, like that sort of we're all like kind of a team, we're a family, we're like in this together, so it's okay when I cry and scream and yell and have emotional outbursts.
Yeah, it's okay when I complain to everybody that I had to be here on a Sunday to like staple some books together. It's okay that I'm upset for weeks after that. And it's also okay that I tell you at least once a week that I never take time off, and at least once every like 2 to 3 months I take a vacation. It's fine that happens. God. And that shit has not stopped. I have had pretty consistent updates of all of that.
Yeah, I have no doubt. And also, it's fun to know also the evolution of the conversation about healthcare coverage and like insurance being offered through the business. Like in the maybe year and a half that I worked there, during those like monthly or so, quarterly, whatever meetings that we would have talking about like I don't know, just the welfare of the business, that a couple of times was brought up as like hey, we're just gauging the interest level. Would you want healthcare? And everyone would be like, yeah. And with the
I want to mention that didn't include me or the pressman. We were not getting healthcare no matter what.
I'm sure not. But that was a conversation the entire time when I worked there, and it would always be, yes, we are interested, and then they'd be like, cool, and then nothing would happen. I think the last team meeting that I ever went to, they were like just starting to set it up, and I haven't heard anything about how that was going. But I would imagine not fantastic.
Well, much like the offer when I was riding hours of buses a day to work that job, which of course is not worked into pay because that's not how jobs work. There was an offer, and I think this is when the husband still worked there as well, the very smart husband, who may or may not be able to make the color purple. So There was an offer at one point that they would help me with a work pass for the bus, which temporarily was like, oh shit, like I would love to take this, like a bus pass for the like various transit in Seattle has pretty consistently cost about $115. And like at the time, I think it was up to like 120 total. So like paying that per month was a pretty decent cost considering how much I made. And the offer was they would put it through the company, which I'm sure gets them some sort of like benefit because they're like offering to help their employees with something. You don't do that for nothing at a job. The amount of money it would cost me a month if they did that, though, was $113. So, like, they could just give me a $5 bill and it would pretty much take care of that problem. Like, it was the first sign that I got, like, because it was when I think Mary was still there too, but it was the first clear sign that this was not going to be like a let's treat you kind of place.
Right.
And it was presented as like a big deal, like, oh, we got an offer for you, buddy.
Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. They did kind of pride themselves on having what they considered to be a good work environment. Like they definitely thought it was like great because they would constantly, or the owner would constantly talk about their background at Microsoft and how they had taken all the cool shit they learned at Microsoft and they're like applying it to their small business, and that's why we're so amazing and productive. And stress the fuck out all the time. that was a fun part of the job. I remember. I mean, a good portion of this is probably just who I am as a person and my own brain and my own problems. But I remember just being so stressed out constantly at that job, just all the time. Like it took months and months to stop going home and having like just dreams about the whole work day and just like doing it all over again. It took a long fucking time for that to subside.
Well, and a lot of that, I remember you talking to me about it, came down to work environment and like the fact that like HR didn't exist, which I will say was an interesting thing to have happen because in a lot of ways I ended up being emotional HR for a number of people, which was weird. Yeah, including the owner, which was a weird place to be in for somebody who got paid the least of anybody at that job. Not by much. The pressman who should have been getting paid way more was paid barely more than me, and that was consistent.
Which is like insane to think about.
Yes.
Absolutely insane to think about because on so many occasions the owner was like, this person is irreplaceable. There's literally no one else who could do this. And I'm like, I hope that
literally the pressman way more than me. I only had it a few times, but the pressman was pretty consistently like called in or like denied like days to not be there based on the fact that they were indispensable.
Yes.
Yeah. And like I would get denied days that I needed to do other stuff and it would just turn into like, well, I'll be there, but I have to get to this appointment like at this time. And it would work out. But like he had days where he wasn't even scheduled to work where they would just have to call him in and he'd come in.
Oh,
and
absolutely. I remember
that. And he lives like 45 minutes away by car. Like that's a lot further away than an hour by bus.
Yeah. I cannot fathom working a job where you're essentially on call and getting paid only a little bit more than you were. That is insane to me.
That was my COVID experience when the furlough was not present. Was well, it's COVID, so like, can you just do it when we need it? And that's how I ended up having things like fucking working overnight sometimes, where it's just like, I guess, like, I technically need this money. I technically need this money to continue. So, like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Also, I do want to make a note about that raise I got to $17 an hour.
Oh, yeah.
For anybody who thinks that that's like, oh wow, $17 an hour, that's pretty good. It was a proponent of everybody should say how much they make at every job per year all the time. Nobody should have secret wages. And that includes owners, and that includes the lowest people. If you make $10,000 a year, which I've absolutely been at in a number of years, like, that should just be an aspect of who you are as, like, in need of certain things. Like, if you make $10,000 a year and you have access to a food bank, fantastic. Like, but for me, like, I maxed out 1 year at that job. I made 25,000 in a single year, which was like, holy shit, I've done it. But most of the time, I maxed out between 18 and 21,000 throughout my entire time there. Now, when I got this raise from 12 to 17, the reason, because I was simultaneously getting emails from the state, I got the email because I sign up for all kinds of dumb shit to stay informed. I don't know, whatever. Yeah, it's usually good, except I still get Trump emails. Anyway, so I had gotten an email earlier in that week that anybody who worked a job and got, no matter like what their hours were, over, like, I want to say it was over 20 a week. So like, I was well past that. Right. Anybody who made less than $17 an hour in the greater Seattle area, so for once it included that, you had to put money into health for those workers. So all of a sudden, after years of them saying, like, you know, you could work more hours, and me having, like, other projects where I literally was like, well, I have this timed out. Like, yes, I only work 40. If I come in on these extra hours for these days, the end of the week, I will have no work. So, like, it was essentially them trying to find a way to make it my responsibility to change my day to, like, being in the middle of the week, even though I had set up to get all my work done to be 2 days and 2 days for most of the time I was there. That was just an aspect of, like, how much workflow we had. And I did come in 5 days a week through a lot of my work there. But, like, during that time when we had lower, like, workflow, I just came in to make sure I was there at the times a week that it was, like, getting everybody what they need. But for the first time, when that healthcare thing kicked in Washington, all of a sudden I had this, like, oh, you know, you're getting all this stuff done. Like, we're giving you this raise. You could come in a little less. Like, you don't have to be here for this. Like, you could just, like, kick out early. Like, all of a sudden, the entire tone of me being there was different, where it was like, you don't have to be here. Like, it was, yeah, very clear in hindsight exactly what was happening, but kind of clear even at the time. There's a lot more to this story, and I feel like we should talk about it more, but I also don't want to run too far over, because we already do a 3-hour-long podcast. But so the one thing I looked at after this that was interesting and made me a lot less sympathetic to something else was, I had been looking up this stuff for, like, a while, and I decided, well, what's something else that has to do with, like, a similar situation? So I got really into figuring out why the fuck malls aren't doing okay. Because it sure seems like there's a lot of money in just having a place if you can get people there. Mm-hmm. And so the main thing that I found out about malls, and I've heard this from people, but like I kind of, it was a whitewash of like different things. Malls kind of are held up as this like, well, it's you know, work doesn't exist for that kind of stuff. Like it's rolled into like millennial laziness. It's rolled into like all kinds of things of like, we just don't go out with people anymore. Like malls are suffering because you can't run a mall. They're expensive. It turns out that's not really the case. The reason why malls have been closing is because the entire ethic of malls is that they have 2 to 6 flagship stores. So like they have if anything, the reason why malls don't exist and also a ton of malls still exist and are successful and people just don't talk about it. The reason why malls don't exist in the same capacity as they did is basically because Sears went away. Like that was the reason why malls were so successful, because what I didn't know is that a mall is just a way of taking 2 or more flagship stores that are already going to get guaranteed business and basically building a tent between them for a bunch of small businesses to leech onto. And it made total sense once I actually read about it a little more, but it was like, oh, so you go find cheap property, which is why malls are always like off to the side of shit. You install stores that are like willing to get space from you and a deal to essentially be close to other things to make a commercial center. And then you whip a oftentimes really cheaply done interior around it and let a bunch of storefronts sit there and pay way more money than they need to in land expenses to the people who own that property. And this is based off of me finding out that like the amount of money they probably make off of that press company just for owning that spot, which is like fine but not amazing, is a lot. But the idea of malls being like dwindling really does just come down to the fact that like Sears doesn't exist, Macy's was struggling, and like Amazon exists. So like people don't have to like get a vacuum cleaner in person. Like that's literally all that affected malls. Except the thing that I found out is that all of the malls would be fine. Like they still brought in a ton of money, and they still didn't, like the companies in malls that talk about how much they pay, that amount wasn't really that much, especially when looking at like the Bellevue prices and stuff. It wasn't that much to have like mall stores that are guaranteed a fair amount of foot traffic even. So ultimately what I found out is that there's like little like million or billionaire like moguls whose whole job is just setting up these land deals and malls. And they just cut back on how many malls they were operating to maximize the amount of money they got in and sold off land to like bring in more cash. It's literally just that same rich person grift that everybody does who has like large amounts of land ownership. They just said, I'll make more money off of this in the short term if I just sell it anyway. So like the whole malls thing is rich people too. It's just fucking rich people being like, fuck it, who cares? And then like malls totally got blamed on like oh, this other business is too successful and people aren't doing this anymore. Millennials aren't buying diamonds. Like it's the same shit. And it's the same shit. It's just rich people being like, I'll make cash off that. I don't want to operating price that away. I'll just like fucking sell it off or whatever. God. Anyway, that's the great American tragedy of malls going away, is that rich people are only making a few $100,000 a year off of a location when they could be making like $1 million off a sale of the property all at once and then going on a trip or something.
I mean, that's just being smart.
And also, it paints the Seattle stuff in a new brush, because like Northgate Mall recently sold off like half of itself to the sports stuff there. So ostensibly, that mall sold to the state. Like that property is probably still owned, or at least sold at a very good price to Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Which is even more like, it's cool that you're reusing that space, but also like that's just rich people getting richer, which isn't really how you think of like civic activity on that level. You would think like, oh, like it's like the city, they're probably getting an okay deal, but they're not. Seattle doesn't get good deals on shit. They just have a bunch of tech people there. Anyway, so that's not as political as sometimes, right? I didn't even talk about the fucking bad stuff.
No, and you only said fucking rich people one time.
Yeah. And I talked about Yu-Gi-Oh! At the start. And don't forget, I'm still going to talk about the Dark Enlightenment. I just didn't this time because it sucks. But I've got some shit to talk about there, too. I hope you're ready for, like, the steps above libertarian asshole, because it's coming. Yeah.
I guess.
Anyway, we're running out of time. Do you have anything else you want to mention?
Not anything important. My other topic was cars are the devil. That was mostly going to be me complaining about my car troubles, but also in part talking about how urban planning sucks because of cars.
Well, tell you what, I am super interested in that. We should write that down for next week, because I think that could run long.
I'll keep that in mind. That was going to be part of that segment that you mentioned, trying to talk about something a little happier, of like upending a system or whatever. But yeah, we can talk about that next time.
Okay, I have written a note down. It says car bullshit, so I will remind you if nothing else.
Yeah. Perfect. I'm sure that will still be on my mind, because I will have car bullshit going on.
Yeah, we'll come in for the big update next time. And depending on when we do the next one, we might have a guest, so we'll see.
Yes.
It also, we might do it all in one place, depending on how we set up, because that might be tough with two.
Yeah, we can figure that out.
We have a lot of space here now, so it is possible to do it wherever.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
We can make it happen.
Well,
yay! Be gone thoughts, I guess.
Bajavers and McClunky.